Coming up in the next hour of Open Door, Carl Ewing of the Association of African American Cultural Gardens, graphic artist Robb Frostbyte King, author Dr. Tameka Ellington on her book Make Fear Your Superpower, and Reverend Dr. Leah Lewis on her upcoming Great Lakes African American Writers Conference. It's time for Open Door with Vince Robinson. Welcome to Open Door. We are joined by Mr. Carl Ewing, and he is president of the Association of African American Cultural Gardens. It is a fantastic installation that's in the Rockefeller Park area of Cleveland. They're situated on a 4-acre sloping site extending from the Wheelock Avenue at the highest point down to Martin Luther King Jr. Drive at the St. Clair exit. The gardens are dedicated to the past, present, and future of the African American community. The African American Garden site is one of more than 30 established or planned ethnic cultural gardens that are part of the 100-year-old Cleveland Cultural Gardens and its representative organization, the Cleveland Federation of Cultural Gardens. Mr. Ewing, welcome to Open Door.
Thank you.
Okay. Glad that you could join us, and I'll just let the listening audience know that I just happened to be at the Cultural Gardens doing a photo shoot, and who do I see there but Mr. Ewing, and he's there with someone else, and he's performing maintenance, watering the beautiful flowers and plants that are over there, and making sure that the grounds surrounding the installation are in good shape, and we commend you for doing that. But in the process of seeing you there and meeting you there, you had some information that you needed to share, and I thought it would be a good idea for us to share it with the public. So you're doing some fundraising. Talk about the current fundraising effort that you have for the African American Cultural Gardens.
Well, we have several underway. Currently, we have our Pull a Tab for the Gardens. Again, this is a device by which we ask the residents, the city, whomever, to collect the tabs. The tabs are those things from pop, beer, soup cans, any of those tabs that are pulled. If you can retain them, and then at a certain time, you can, when you're amassed a certain amount, you can give us a call, and we'll be more than happy to come and pick those up. While it might seem very meager and small, you have to remember that every small bit counts. We're doing everything we possibly can to raise funds for your garden. We also have Given Tuesday that's coming up again in November. But we have a 2020 campaign where we're asking people of the city of Cleveland to donate $20.20 towards the building of the garden. You would be surprised that $20.20, if gathered by the Black community, but as well as the white community, how quickly it will be amassed, and we will be able to raise the money to complete the garden construction.
Okay, so if someone wanted to donate that $20.20, how would they go about doing it?
They can simply visit our website, which is www.aacg.org, and we'll have all the information there. You simply go there, hit the link, and there's the mailing address, but I can give you the mailing address now.
Okay.
You can send those donations to AAACG at Post Office Box 20237, Cleveland 44120. And again, we're tax. We certainly have tax exempt status, but your contribution is certainly tax deductible. So we would encourage each person to partake of this opportunity to help the garden. Your means of contribution to getting this to its final completion.
Okay, and I'll add as a footnote to that, you don't have to limit your donation to $20.20 if you want to donate more.
Absolutely not.
Right.
Absolutely not.
Yes.
No matter how large or how small, every amount counts.
Okay.
So this is our way we thought that we would have those persons that might not ordinarily have a large amount of funds to contribute. We will be more than happy. We would welcome any contribution, but we just thought we would start out with our 2020 campaign.
Okay. And, how important is it for us as African Americans to donate towards our own cause?
I guess it's best depicted by our pavilions that we have. It's broken into three pavilions: the past, the present, and the future. And again, to know where you're going, you have to know from where you came. And again, the past pavilion gives a very emotional description of how we as a Black people were brought, certainly unwelcome, and certainly without, against our wishes, to this United States. And again, if you could visit our website, you will see the picture. It will give a three-dimensional story of the whole three pavilions in its entirety. But again, it's incumbent upon we have to know just where we came from and what role we play here on these United States shores.
Okay, so you discussed the photographs that you have online, but I'm under the impression that there's so much more planned for this. Can you talk about what the future of this installation looks like over there in Rockefeller Park?
Yes, currently standing there is this huge monument, and I call it a testimonial to the past. It's a brick structure. It showed that this is the place where the Africans were captured, brought to this island, put on these ships, and were shipped out to parts unknown. So many, every person that was taken on that ship had no idea just what lay ahead for them. And we must remember that in its passage, probably close to 2.5 million Africans lost their lives in traveling through the ocean to get here.
Okay. So you have that port, then that's up there close to Wheelock, and I'm just curious about what it's going to look like when you're able to complete it after you collect all the funding that's required to do it.
Okay. And again, the story is so compelling. There's three pavilions that will show the doorway of no return with the ocean streaming down. So many people have asked and said, well, it looks as if you're doing things backwards. Why wouldn't you have it down at the bottom of Martin Luther King, like so many other gardens, and then build up? And my simple reply is, where have you ever seen anywhere in the world that water flows uphill? Water plays such an intricate part of our history because, again, the ships transported the slaves to parts unknown. And I said slaves because when we were captured and brought here, we were Africans. We lost our identity in that passage. So, again, when you get to the middle provision, as I call the present, it will show a huge granite platform. Etched in there will be the different parts of the world that the slaves were taken. As I said, slaves, as I mentioned before, because now we're slaves. Chains on our minds and on our feet. Again, the future pavilion will show a resurgence. The water will shoot up from the bottom of the whole structure, and the water represents a strong resilience to we as a Black people. We've been able to overcome so many obstacles that we have strived and we have achieved so many things. We doctors, lawyers, anything, and in fact, we've even reached the point of the presidency. So our limits, our boundaries are limited as to just how far we can go. But it shows the vitality of we as a Black people.
Okay. You spoke a few moments ago about obstacles, and obviously you've had to overcome quite a few to get to where you are today. Could you talk about the journey from the inception of the idea of being a part of the cultural gardens, and what your fundraising effort needs to look like in terms of the destination, how much you need to get the job done?
Well, we must remember that we as a people, this is our country, this is our land. But we want to know, and we have to know, from where we came. And again, we've been confronted with so many obstacles. In the early days of the gardens, it met with a lot of opposition. From Leo Jackson first presenting this to the Federation, it being voted down. And then years later, Booker Tall, a college professor from Tri-C, had the vision that we should have and claim our rightful place here in Cleveland, Ohio.
Wait. Hold up. I cannot let that slip by. Are you saying that there was opposition to an African-American presence in the Rockefeller Park Cultural Gardens?
Yes, but you must remember the times. This was in the 60s. And, you know, while it might have been predominantly white and a lot of, yes, I would say people of different color that encompassed Glenville, it was actually voted down. Yes, I have to say it was voted down, but they persisted. So this has been over a 40-year odyssey to get to where we are today.
That's amazing. In the introduction, we talked about 30 locations. Just recently, within the past year, the Ethiopians installed their place in Rockefeller Park. But aside from our installation, are there any other African countries that are included in that 30?
No, there are not. We were the trailblazers, and then within the last couple of years, within the last year, Ethiopia did petition, and they were granted admission. I sat on the Federation board, and I've seen them go through the transition. They are strong supporters of ours now, but we have to remember, in their earlier days, just the same was the opposite.
Mm-hmm. To your knowledge, have there been any other African countries that have expressed an interest in having a presence in the gardens?
No, and I've been on that board for well over 10 years now. There have been none, but I know that there are those who are interested.
Okay.
So there's a procedure you have to go through. And I know that there are, and I sit anxiously waiting and welcoming anyone that might want to join the Guard Federation.
Okay, so let's talk about the end of your fundraising efforts. What is your goal in terms of funds to be raised for this?
Well, we are trying to raise over $2 million. It takes over $2 million to complete the 3 pavilions of the African American Cultural Gardens.
Okay.
The economic times dictate.
Mm-hmm. And are you getting support from other sources aside from the donations of residents and citizens of the city?
Yes, we've been enthusiastically supported by United Black Fund, Cleveland Cavaliers. We have people that have joined our board that are very interested and very much involved in getting us to the point where we can raise the complete amount of money that's necessary.
Okay, so you're fairly optimistic that you'll be able to meet your goal.
I am. What mind can conceive, man can achieve. Oh. And I feel very confident that we're on the right tracks to get that going.
Okay, well, that's the word from Mr. Carl Ewing, president of the Association of African American Cultural Gardens. If you're interested, and you should be, you can visit the website at www.aacg.org. That's AAACG.org. You can reach to them by phone or reach out to them by phone, 216-509-6427. And if you want to mail...
If I might.
Yes.
I'm sorry. If I might just put one more plug.
Okay.
I want to encourage everyone to take part and join us for our Sankofa webcast education series, which is scheduled to begin October the 7th on consecutive Wednesdays. October the 7th, October the 14th, the 21st, 28th, and November the 4th. Again, this information will be on our website. It will give you an insight as to just what we are all about, interviews with the Black community.
Carl Ewing, president of the Association of African American Cultural Gardens. Thank you so much for joining us on Open Door. This is 95.9 FM WOVU, Burtonville Carr Community Radio Station. We'll be back after this.
We're not always on the same side of issues, but that's the great thing about being a democracy. But we can all agree on this. The 2020 census is important to everyone. An accurate count determines how many seats our state has in Congress. It also helps inform how billions of dollars in public funding get distributed annually. for things that make our daily lives better, like walk-in clinics, preschool and after-school programs, affordable housing, and hundreds of other programs. So we can all agree participating in the 2020 census is important for so many reasons. To find out how you can participate, visit 2020census.gov. Shape your future. Start here.
Okay, you're listening to Open Door Cleveland. I'm Vince Robinson, and I am talking with Robb Frostbyte King. The other day, I noticed a post that he put up on Facebook, and what he said was, as an artist, I've somehow become attracted to the imperfections in other artists' work. Well, I mean what most people, including the artist, would consider imperfections. They actually bring out their character, their own unique style. Brother, when I saw that statement, I thought it was quite significant, because I'm one of those people who will find imperfection in my own art and use that imperfection to create something completely different. So first, let me welcome you to Open Door.
Thank you.
Okay. So let's talk about that. What were you thinking, and what prompted you to make that statement?
Well, sometimes I might run into another artist and they'll tell me, well, I'm not as good as you. And, I'm pretty much spending time convincing them that, they're great at what they do. And normally, I tell them, like, what makes me love their art. Like, they might say, oh, that was a flaw. I'm like, for real? That was a flaw? But it's their style to me. I see it often. Like, sometimes it might be a picture where the face might droop to the left. And, some artists might do it often, but it's like, that's their style. They're used to doing it. Well, I'm trying to fix that. But I'm like, that's your style. I might, tell them about Justin Boer, how his pictures look, or other artists, famous artists, and it's like they grew into their work. Pretty much like as I'm getting older, I'm still growing into mine. So, I tell them that, I'm still learning.
Okay. So what are you doing as an artist? I know of you as a graphic artist, but I also see that you're gifted with the ability to draw, and I would assume that you paint. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But what do you do as an artist?
Do painting, illustration, caricature arts. Every now and then I help with the painting in the park every year in Winter Wonderland. So.
Okay. And what was the genesis of your being an artist? There was a point in your life where you said to yourself, I think I can do this.
Actually, I wanted to be an artist when I was a lot younger. And I had a chance to, but, things happen in life. And you start drifting into, the working class and stuff like that. But I honestly, maybe the last 5 years, it seemed like I was able to just sit down and draw. And also, there's a thing every month called Inktober. So I've been drawing something with ink pens every day for the whole month of October. And it was fun. Like, it made me have a passion for drawing again.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying that it's just been within the past 5 years that you discovered your ability to draw?
Oh, no.
Okay.
I discovered my ability to draw when I was 4. Yeah, I started drawing at 4. Copying my uncle, drawing stormtroopers from Star Wars, things like that, comic book characters, stuff like that. So.
Okay. And I know that you are a graphic artist. Could you talk about what it took for you to become the artist that you are in that realm?
Well, I have an uncle that lives in London, and back in like '96, he was visiting Cleveland, and he brought a program called Photoshop, and he was just like bragging about that's the rave. It's the rave. Like, it's the best thing going. And I was like, yeah, I don't trust it. But somewhere down the line, I ended up liking it. And, like, you know, in my downtime when I wasn't working, I would help people with business cards and resumes and things like that. And started a little business. And when I started getting to the poetry scene, it seemed like, you know, people were looking for graphic designers, you know, somebody that can do flyers and CD covers and stuff like that. And I was like, well, I can do that. and Flyer Graphics came.
Okay, so how long have you been a graphic artist?
Since 2000.
Okay. Yeah, that's close to the amount of time that I've actually been connected with the poetry scene in Cleveland. So 20 years, that's quite a chunk of time to have been doing that. What were you doing before you picked up the skill of graphic arts?
Odd jobs, working here and there, teaching, stuff like that.
Okay. So what do you consider your full-time situation now?
Graphic designer. I'm not doing security and bodyguard anymore. So, yeah, graphic design,
Okay.
artist.
Okay. And in addition to being a graphic artist, you're also a poet.
Yes.
Okay. Talk about your relationship to the written word and what kinds of things resonate with you in terms of what you write about.
I was introduced to the poetry scene in 2001. My cousin Guillermo was talking about going to one of the open mic poetry nights, and I decided to go, and I was hooked ever since. I had started writing poetry when I was in the 7th grade, and you know, I never ever thought about like doing anything with poetry until I got older.
Okay. And could you reflect on your life in the Cleveland poetry scene? You know, I can go back to 1997 when I started an open mic at a coffee shop out in the Greenlight Shopping Center called Another Level. So you know, I've been through a lot of different other venues and a lot of other situations, but it's always fascinating to hear someone else's journey in Cleveland poetics.
Oh, yes. Well, I had became a part of Chief Rock Entertainment. It was a poetry group in 2004. And I was introduced to many poetry scenes, like through Cleveland and Akron, and actually through other cities, you know, doing the poetry slams and stuff like that. I was very fascinated with meeting and forming relationships with poets from other cities, and even trying to establish friendships here. It was great.
Okay. So now that we're in this strange place that we find ourselves now, what do you do to feed your poetry, Jones?
I listen to younger poets, and I still write. Like, I'll just write everything down and put them in books. I'm working on one now. It's in the process of getting edited.
Mm-hmm. So your exposure to poetry now, is it primarily a virtual exposure?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So are you working on any new projects, anything that you want to put out there?
Yeah, I have a poetry book. It's like poetry, short stories, and some artwork. It's like a volume 2 of my first book. It's called Creating Greatness. And just a couple of artworks in the process. Oh, and I was going to use all the Inktober pictures that I've made into the last couple of years and make them into coloring books.
Okay. Sounds interesting. Yeah, quite interesting. Well, I'd like to also let the audience know that I have a book that was published back in 2015, and thanks to Robb, I have some really nice graphics on it. Thank you to you for being my artist and making the book look as good as it looks. I am planning to write some more books, so that's something that will come relatively soon, hopefully. But in terms of your book, if folks are interested in it, how can they get it?
It would be on Lulu.com. So it's like Lulu.com/RobbKing76.
Ron King 76? Robb King 76.
Yeah, Robb King, ROBB.
Okay, you
KING.
got to have the two B's in there.
Yes.
ROBB KING. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I want to thank you for spending the time with us on Open Door. Appreciate you and look forward to those books coming out. And if folks want to take advantage of your skills as a graphic artist, how can they reach you?
You can reach me either on Instagram, which is Robb King Art, ROBBKING Art, or you can call me at my number 216-253-1774.
Open Door Cleveland with Vince Robinson will return with Dr. Tameka Ellington right here on 95.9 FM, WOVU, a Burtonville Car Community radio station. What can you do in the battle against COVID-19? Your first task, wear a mask, protect yourself and others. Armor up, armor up. Give those hands a 20-second shower with soap and water. Armor up, armor up. Give others space 6 feet just in case. Armor up, armor up. Get good nutrition, ingest for digestion. Armor up, armor up. Vitamin C, D3, and more. Armor up, armor up. Elderberries, zinc, and echinacea from the store. Armor up, armor up. Get some fresh air. Go climb some stairs. Armor up, armor up. Let go of stress. Make sure you rest. Armor up, armor up. Your breath is the key to life. Strengthen your immune system, follow the guidelines, and win the battle against COVID-19. Armor up, armor up. Welcome back to Open Door. We are now talking with Dr. Tameka Ellington. She is the author of Make Fear Your Superpower and an upcoming book called Be the GOAT, a career readiness manual for first-generation students and young professionals. Dr. Ellington, welcome to Open Door.
Thank you so much, Vince, for the invitation.
All right. As we have this conversation, you're at your son's soccer practice, and you told me just a few moments ago that your other son had a baseball game or some other sporting activity?
Yes, baseball.
Yes. So you are a soccer mom, among other things.
It's funny. I've never seen myself that way, because it has such a negative connotation when you think about it, but I am a career mom. That's what I am, a career mom.
Okay. Well, in addition to being a career mom and an author, you are also a friend of mine who actually had the pleasure and honor of being on a trip to Ghana, West Africa, and we spent a couple of weeks over there and had just a glorious time. So
yes, we did.
I can't let that escape. And to just add a little bit of sugar to this, you're also involved in textiles.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And
I'm a fashion designer by trade.
Okay. All right. So glad to hear that. So you've written these first two books. First, let's talk about Make Fear Your Superpower.
Okay. So Make Fear Your Superpower is an empowerment book for men, women, typically, people who are needing an extra word of inspiration to help get them beyond whatever fear they may be facing. And so in the book, I discuss 9 different types of fears that we experience. And I just give, some examples of with my life, how I've been able to get beyond and be able to use those fears as a way to empower myself.
Okay, so you have had some experiences that caused you to get some relief from the fear that you have been facing. Could you talk about what that might have been like?
Oh, yeah. Like I said, every chapter is talking about a different level of fear. And one of the fears that I had the most trouble with was, a fear of success. I came from a background. I'm a student from the inner city of Cleveland. I went to Glenville High School. Most of the people in my neighborhood were not academic bound. They were, trying to live their life. They were trying to survive. And, for me to see someone, doing the academic, the whole academic thing was rare. And so the idea of being able to get out of that neighborhood, academic was the only way that I saw to do that. And with that, I became the first person in my family to go to college. And part of that scenario, it makes me almost kind of like the anomaly in my family, because I am still to this day the only person in my family to go to college. I'm kind of like the outsider, and it's oftentimes made me fearful that if I continue to excel, then people that I love will have a hard time accepting me.
Interesting. And do you think that that's something that many of us grapple with, that whole idea of fear of success?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Especially if you are someone who's the first in your family to go to college, or say maybe you, grew up in a household where you were poor. It's quite difficult when you want these things and you aspire to these things, but your family just doesn't understand why, and they can't see beyond, what's in front of them. Mm-hmm. And so it becomes a challenge.
Yes. What are some of the other fears that you discuss?
Oh, I talk about a fear of your own beauty, and our experience in Africa. I talked about that in that particular chapter, and really a fear of beauty comes from, being a Black woman and the experiences that I've had being a Black woman, being a brown-skinned Black woman, being a brown-skinned Black woman with kinky hair. And so because of society's perception of what beauty is, a lot of times people like me didn't fit into that. And we, had to deal with stigma, had to deal with low self-esteem, because we were not able to fit that mold. And so in the book, I talk a lot about how to get beyond what society has said. And, our experience to Ghana really opened my eyes. I'm sure you probably remember that I kind of separated from the group a couple of times to go on different trips that I wanted to do.
Yes.
And so I got a chance to visit a university called, what was it? Radford. Okay, it was Radford University. It was a art institute. They have fashion programs there, graphic design, and some other, art-based programs. And so I had contacted the director over the fashion school, and I wanted to, go and visit and see what their school was like. And so when I got there, the students, were all ready for me. They had about maybe 50 students in the class. They were ready to show me, the artwork that they had been doing, the designs that they had, made, and just kind of introduce themselves and what they're like, a little bit about their curriculum. And all the kids, they got up and they, spent maybe 5 minutes or so presenting their work. And then after the kids talked, the director asked me to get up and say a few words about who I am and, where I'm from and everything. And I'm telling you, Vince, that experience was just indescribable. So when it was time for me to get up in front of the group, when I stood up, I was almost kind of like frozen, because in all of my career, teaching and being a professor at a predominantly white university, I'd never, ever been in a space, in an academic space, where everyone was Black. And I became like emotionally overwhelmed. It was definitely, I could say, like one of the highlights of my career. Being able to be in an academic space with all Black people was amazing. Mm-hmm. And it totally changed my perspective about what beauty is.
I'm curious about how the students in that space responded to you.
Oh, they were very kind, and they actually called me the Black American professor, is what they called me. They were, everybody was just amazingly welcoming and nice. The kids, I even to this day still keep in touch with some of the students from there. And so, they were all just very, very kind, and, I took to them and they took to me.
Mm-hmm. And you being an African woman, did that experience enhance your perception of yourself as an African?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because being able to go to a university, an academic space, and everyone in that space is Black. All of the administration, all of the professors, all of the students, it just gave me a new perspective about the power of being a Black person and what that actually means. So it totally changed my life.
This is just an aside, but I don't know if you are aware of our colleague, Dr. Whitaker's involvement in the creation of a new university in Ghana.
Yeah, the Obakasi University.
Yeah, University Obakasi of University. Let me get this right. Obakasi University of Excellence is what it is being called. Obakasi University of Excellence. So it's just gratifying to see this connection between Africans in America and Africans in Africa, and the Pan-African common denominator, and the fact that we're working on both sides of the ocean to educate and I guess raise consciousness to an extent.
Right.
And I think what's also interesting is that it has taken, to a certain extent, it has taken African Americans to awaken Africans to the idea of Afrocentric thought. Can you talk a little bit about how that could happen?
Oh, it's interesting because, unfortunately, there had been for many years this kind of like angst between African Americans and Africans. And us, finally, getting an opportunity to be together, to understand and learn each other, we begin to see that we're so much alike. We're more alike than we are different. And, I think that is when we began to be able to look at ourselves as one whole body instead of you're over here and I'm over there. When we see ourselves as one whole body, that's like you said, Pan-Africanism right there, right?
Yes. Yep. So, getting back to the book, you talk about getting over fears. Can you tell us what kind of process you go through in order for that to happen?
Oh, boy. It depends on what it is. It depends on what type of fear it is, because each type, takes a different part of your spiritual being, a different part of skills. One of the things that I also talk about in the book about social inequality, and me being a Black woman, Black academic, I was the very first and still really the only Black professor in the School of Fashion at Kent State. And when I got there, I was not welcome. They didn't want me there. I could be there as a part-timer because I actually started off teaching part-time. And so it was okay for me to be there as a part-timer. But when I started applying for full-time positions, they didn't want me to be there full-time. And so I had applied for maybe 3 different positions that had come up during the time while I was there as a part-timer. And I got passed up for all 3 of those positions. After the 3rd time of getting passed up, I started seeing a pattern. And I started seeing that the people that they had hired instead of hiring me were white women who had less education than me. And these particular people did not have nearly the qualifications that I had. I mean, I had pretty much almost, gotten halfway done with my PhD. I was what they call ABD, or all but dissertation. So I was ABD. I had also had about 5 years of experience in the fashion industry working as a designer, which a lot of, my other colleagues never have. They've been book taught about the fashion industry, but have never experienced, what it's truly like being a designer in the fashion industry. And so I knew that, getting passed up 3 times was definitely an injustice. And I ended up having to file an affirmative action complaint against the fashion school. And I ended up getting a job after that.
Okay.
And coming into that space in that way left me with a lot of pressure because, like I said, I knew that I wasn't wanted there. It left me with a lot of anxiety because I knew my colleagues were watching me and waiting for me to mess up. That whole scenario, that whole setup of what that was like was absolutely life-changing for me because the first 2 years of my time as a professor was absolute hell because, I was dealing with some things in my personal life. My baby boy, Maxwell, was deathly ill. So I had to deal with, those things. And then I had to go to work and deal with people who didn't want me to be there. And so all of the pressure, from that and constantly, being on guard, and that's what it was. It's like every time I walked into the building, I felt like I had to put on my armor, And so after 2 years of living in that space in that way, I just got to the point, like, I don't know what it was. God just came over me, just spoke to me and said, why do you care so much what these people think about you? You know that I gave you the talent to be here. Why do you care so much about what these folks got to say? And so once I came into that space, then my whole perspective changed. I was able to excel and I became one of the top researchers in that department. I got a chance to travel all over the world, talking about my research and showing my art. And if I would have stayed in that space of fear, I would have never been able to experience all of those things.
Okay.
And so like I said, it took me about 2 years to really, come out of that fear and to be able to get the skills that I needed and to get the spirit that I needed to be able to, go beyond that.
Yes. Well, I would say that it is obvious to me that you have done something to conquer your fear because I can feel liberation in your voice and what you just expressed.
Yeah.
I would like to talk a little bit about your next book. I think the title is self-explanatory. A career readiness manual for first-generation students and young professionals. And you started by saying, be the greatest of all time. We only have a few moments, but just talk briefly about what you're conveying in that book.
First-generation students a lot of times have a disadvantage to their peers. Their families, don't know anything about what it's like to go to college. And so they're kind of navigating that whole space by themselves. They have some type of support, while they're in school. There's government programs that help students that are first generation. But oftentimes, like when they graduate from school and then they start getting into their career, that support just stops. And so that same lack of knowledge that they had while they were in school, when it comes time to applying for a job, going on the interview, actually working in a corporate space, they never. And I could just speak from my own perception about what I experienced, and nobody in my family had ever worked in a corporate space. And so when I went and started working in the fashion industry, I didn't know what politics was. I didn't know how to act in meetings. I didn't know, I had to learn as I went. And this book, I'm hoping, will be able to give first generation students and young professionals some skills that they can have to help get them, a leg up, or at least get them on the same level with their peers.
Okay. Sounds great. How can we get the books?
The book will be coming out next month, and it'll be on Amazon. And the interesting thing about the Be the GOAT book is that I actually developed a course to go along with it. So the book, once you purchase the book, you get free access to the course.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, sounds like a great idea, and I'm sure folks will be able to get some tools and some skills to advance their careers and become more successful. We thank you for writing both of those books, and we also thank you for being our guest on Open Door, Dr. Tameka Ellington, author and fashionista. Coming up, Reverend Dr. Leah Lewis on the Great Lakes African American Writers Conference on 95.9 FM WOVU.
Hey, what's up, y'all? This is DJ Fatty Banks.
Dr. Vinaya K. Jones. Alicia Graves.
Jordan Lucius.
This is Miss V on your radio, and you're listening to the best community radio station in the land. WOVU, Our Voices United, 959 FM.
When you're in my car, we're listening to WOVU 95.9 FM.
Welcome back to Open Door. We have been joined by Reverend Dr. Leah Lewis. She is the founder and executive producer of the Great Lakes African American Writers Conference. Welcome to Open Door.
Vince, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be with you on Open Door.
Yes, and I'm really pleased to have you with us. You have been doing something called the Great Lakes African American Writers Conference. You founded it, and I'm sure you can tell us why it came about and what it is about.
Yes, so the Great Lakes African American Writers Conference, which we call GLAAWC for GLAAWC. The GLAAWC Conference is in its third year. And we have been an installment on Cleveland Book Week since the very beginning in 2018. And we are the premier writers conference for lovers of African American literature in the Great Lakes region. We had the great fortune of taking this idea to the East Cleveland Public Library, and they were the first organization to sign on. And then we took it to the Cleveland Foundation, to Karen Long, who leads the Annisville Book Awards. And she loved the idea. And since 2018, we've been off and running.
Okay, 2018. So that means that this is the third year for it?
Correct. We are having our third annual conference. We had our first event on Wednesday, September 23rd at the East Cleveland Public Library. We did a book discussion of Jason Reynolds and Abraham X. Kendi's Stamped. And this coming week, we will have two events on Friday, October 2nd. The first is a colloquium for academic institutions in Cleveland and Pittsburgh. That is a closed event. But later that day, on October 2nd, in the evening at 6 p.m., we will have a youth spoken word competition. And it's going to be a Cleveland versus Pittsburgh battle. So we're going to have 6 youth from Cleveland battling 5 youth from Pittsburgh, and the winner will have bragging rights. And I hope people got a bit of an echo of the Browns-Steelers rivalry, because that's what we were really aiming for. And then on Saturday, October 3rd, we will have a full-day conference. It will kick off in the morning about 8:55. We'll start our day with African drumming. followed by the singing of the Black National Anthem, and then a full day of panel discussions and conversations. And let me highlight that our literary keynote, is Pearl Clegg, the author, poet, essayist, novelist, and playwright. And then we have a professional keynote, which will be given by a woman named Kima Jones. Kima is the founder of Jack Jones Literary Arts. This is her second year delivering the professional keynote for us. And Kima is a publicist to African American literary luminaries. And then on Sunday, starting at 2:45, we're going to show a virtual production of Pearl Clegg's play, Flying West, produced by a Pittsburgh-based theater collective called Damascus. And then after that, Miss Clegg will join the cast for a Q&A. And Vince, all of this is taking place virtually. It will be on the Facebook page, our YouTube channel, and the website for Glossy. And the website is www.glaawc.us. And so we have a full slate of programming, again, which is a celebration of African American literature.
That is amazing. You know, I've been privileged to participate. Last year I attended and I was blown away by the content that you presented. So I commend you for doing it the way that you're doing it this year. I'm imagining and I'm certain that you're making the adjustment based on the present circumstances. How do you think that is going to affect what you intend to accomplish?
Well, actually, Vince, I'm hoping that it will have a positive impact. And what I mean by that is because we're going virtual, we have an opportunity to reach a greater number of people. So, you know, we're hoping for very dynamic presentations, the bulk of which have been pre-recorded because we don't want to encounter any technical issues. However, our literary keynote, Pearl Clegg, will appear live. So, you know, we have put a lot of time and energy and effort into crafting the right program and doing all that we needed to do in terms of production so that it is first rate and entertaining as well as highly informative.
Okay. And this is a writers' conference, and I'm sure you want to have a very profound impact on writers. What do you want them to walk away with after attending virtually?
So, you know, my motivation for doing this conference was eliminating knowledge deficits for African American writers in the Midwest, in the Great Lakes states, particularly in Cleveland and now Pittsburgh. A lot of times people desire to write books, but they have no idea how to begin. Then once they start writing, they don't know how to get their book produced, whether they produce it as a self-published author or whether they seek out an agent. And so what people will learn is the process of getting a book published. We're very fortunate in that we're going to have some top-notch publishing industry professionals for the first time this year. Brandy was number 2 at a major publishing house. And so the major publishing houses are called the Big Five. So she's going to give us insight into how to interface with the Big Five publishers in case you want that kind of deal. Then we're going to have a panel of children's book authors, 2 who are local here in Cleveland and 1 in Pittsburgh, Shantae Thomas, Connie Perrone, and Dominique Briggs. They're going to share with viewers their experience of being self-published authors. And so that's going to be very insightful. And then we have 2 nationally recognized poets. Kelly DeBerry Harris Kelly Harris DeBerry and Alan King. And they're going to give insights into how to get a book published in this digital age. So the Glossy Conference is really about eliminating knowledge deficits, giving people inside information so that they can be successful. And I want to just mention one more thing. This year, Kent State's Wick Poetry Center has partnered with us, and they have created a website that people can use with writing cues. So if you need help developing your creative ability, you will definitely want to use this resource, which is going to be on our website. Again, that's www.glaawc.us, and it'll be very helpful. And this website, this creative writing tool and prompt features the work of August Wilson and Pearl Clegg. Why these two? Again, Pearl Clegg is our keynote. And this year, one of our partners out of Pittsburgh is the August Wilson House. So we've had the good fortune of really building our network. And so not only will we bring a phenomenal virtual conference to the people, but there will be a long-standing creative writing resource that they can tap into when they go to our website.
That all sounds very amazing, and I'm happy to see Kelly Harris participating in this. Kelly Harris DeBerry. I had the privilege of giving Kelly her very first poetry feature.
What?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, Kelly was a youngster back then, and I recognized that talent, and I was doing spoken word shows at Robin's Nest down on St. Clair. And
wow,
Kelly Harris was one of my features. Michelle Smith Quarles was one of my features. Bashir Jones was one of my features. I put a lot of people on for the very first time, and it's just been phenomenal to see her growth as a poet and as a woman. You know, she's down there in New Orleans, married to her husband. They have a beautiful young daughter, and and she's amazing in her own right. So. Yes. And then the heavy hitters that you have involved in this conference, this is not a minor thing. This is a national event, whether folks realize it or not.
Yeah, and I want to say it's actually going to be international this year. Right. It's my understanding that there will be classrooms of people viewing the conference in Kenya, in Germany, and in South Africa. And so you're absolutely right, Vince. This is a conference that is worthy of national and international attention because of the quality of our presenters. And, you mentioned Michelle Smith Quarles. She and her mother, Dr. Brenda Smith, will do a panel discussion on the value of intergenerational literacy. And so this conference is really for lovers of reading and writing, and it is one that is intended to have a positive impact on our community today and for the years to come. And I also want to invoke this. I encourage people to tune in to the youth spoken word competition on Friday evening at 6:00. We have some things that are going to blow the socks off of folk in Cleveland. You just talked about this being a national event. I invoked international. We're going to have a couple appear, two people, a married couple, a man and a woman. And I know folks are going to be like, how in the world did the Reverend Dr. Leah Lewis pull this off? So a great surprise is in store for Friday evening. I believe the event starts at 6:00. Tune in to our website, the Facebook page, our Facebook page, or our YouTube channel, and be a part of something major that will positively impact the lives of children in Cleveland.
Well, you have just said a mouthful, and you have given us something to look forward to. I'm sure that there are going to be plenty of learning opportunities for it, and if nothing else, you will be entertained, especially if you pick up that spoken word event that you're going to have on Friday evening. It sounds exciting, and I'm going to make sure that I tune in. Reverend Dr. Leah Lewis, founder and executive producer of the Great Lakes African American Writers Conference. Looking forward to it. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Vince. And I look forward to you hosting on Saturday at the Glossy Conference as well. Take care and God bless.
Thank you, too. Take care.
Bye-bye.
And thank you for listening to Open Door Cleveland. Know yourself, love yourself, be yourself, make it a great day. Peace.